Like Empire Strikes Back, this one is really a classic, and is hard to do justice. Before Revenge of the Sith came along, I admit this was probably my favorite film in the series. Say what you want about the Ewoks, the entire film is just one epic scene after the next, culminating in a great confrontation between father and son. For the sake of spoiling anything, I'll just assume most of you watching have seen the movie, so I'll go ahead and say it. We've established by now that Vader truly is Luke's biological father.
Your father?
But we also find out that Leia is Luke's long-lost twin sister, which makes this scene from Empire a little creepy. Right off the bat, we find that the Emperor is constructing a second Death Star. Now you would think after their minor failure with the first Death Star that they would one-up their intelligence and maybe try something altogether different. I mean, when you watch the finale, they destroy it the same way, by creating a chain reaction within its reactor core. It's not very hard to figure out after doing it once before. Anyway, Vader tells his men that the Emperor himself is coming to oversee its completion. In the meantime, 3PO and R2 head to Jabba's palace to rescue Han from Jabba the Hutt. Now let's pretend that this is 1983. The prequels don't yet exist, and as of now there are no special editions. Up to this point we've heard Jabba's name, and we gather that he's got to be a pretty vicious criminal.
Well, there's a price on my head. If I don't pay off Jabba the Hutt, I'm a dead man.
A death mark's not an easy thing to live with.
He has to be so bad that they waited 3 films to show him to us. I can't wait to see what he looks like. Jabba the Hutt is really a creation of brilliance. I know, he turns out to be just a large slug, which might have been a little anticlimactic, but at the same time, he seems like a living, breathing creature, and he's pretty grotesque, so our expectations are pretty much met. This, above the other films, is a creature movie. Aside from the Ewoks, we have all these things just walking around Jabba's palace in a nod to the original film's cantina scene. And we have the giant Rancor, which is one of the movie's many standout action scenes. But if you look at all the creatures in these scenes, it looks like everyone is doing something. It's a very lively set, complete with an alien band and the works. Considering it was all done with puppets back in 1983, this had to look pretty impressive. Of course, this is one of those scenes that were touched up in the 1997 special edition. Honestly, they didn't do too much to it, but they added this particularly whimsical sequence of sized noodles and her band. Some think it's ridiculous, but I always had a soft spot for it. It stands out so much from the rest of the movie, and when it's over you wonder what just happened, but I get a kick from it each time I see it. And it's not like the original movie didn't have a dance number, this one just stands out a little more. The majority of the film pretty much stays the same. This is probably my favorite opening sequence of any of the films, as well as my favorite battle, taking place over the Pit of Carkoon. They added a giant beak to give the Sarlacc pit some added malevolence, and again I think it works to the film's favor. Before it was just an empty pit with some spikes and some lifeless tentacles. Now there's an actual level of suspense. Everything else is just as awesome. The speeder bike chase, the assault on the second Death Star, the forest battle of Endor, the Ewoks. Yes, I just said that. Luke's fight with Vader, and Vader's confrontation with the Emperor. There's not a moment of displeasure to be had with this film. Of course, there's Obi-Wan's explanation of Vader's parentage, which fans tend to discredit by saying Lucas came up with it at the last minute. But you know what? That's how storytelling works. No one writes a story with all the elements planned out. Somewhere along the line, the story you set out to write will go on a tangent, and oftentimes you have to mold the story a certain way. Did Lucas always know that Luke and Leia were siblings? Obviously, given this scene in Empire, probably not. What makes a story suspenseful, especially in a trilogy, is going back to the beginning and finding out things we didn't know before. It seems that since the prequels came out, fans have made it a tradition to find every little fault with these films, as if George Lucas is expected to be a perfect being because he made these movies. I'm sick of hearing about it. You know, when I grew up, we loved talking about these movies. Everyone I knew loved Return of the Jedi, and no one had any problems with the Ewoks. I guess a Gungan's true power, if anything, lies in their ability to make devoted fanboys turn into angered, bitter adults who turn on their favorite movies. God damn you, Jar Jar. Well, you will not sway my mind. Look at the extended ending here. This is a prime example of what I mean. In the 1997 special edition, they added this sequence of shots where the galaxy is celebrating the crumbling of the Empire, and were shown brief glimpses of Tatooine, Cloud City, and Coruscant, which was cool at the time because it was like we were being given a very brief glimpse of the new movie, Episode 1. That's fine, I always like the added touch. Now in the DVD version, they added one minor detail, adding the planet of Naboo to the lineup of celebrating planets. Now what's that? That's right, Gungans. Do you know how many people gripe that there are now Gungans in Return of the Jedi? I'm sick of hearing about it. Just pretend they're not there. You just had half a movie with Ewoks running around. Are you honestly moaning about a 3-second shot containing some CGI duck-billed platypi? It's overkill, and should really be overlooked given the otherwise fantastic nature of the film. Now, the one thing that is kind of weird to me is the final shot, where they again replaced an actor. This time they got rid of Sebastian Shaw, the actor credited with playing the older Anakin, and replaced him with Hayden Christensen from the prequel trilogy. It's always thrown me off because he just doesn't look like he belongs in this trilogy. I understand Luke's reason for doing it, but I just felt that this was something they could have left alone. And that's all I really have to say about this one. It's a great film, and while I can never figure out which one I like more, Empire or Jedi...
What did you like better, Jedi or The Empire Strikes Back?
Empire.
Blasphemy.
It has a pretty special place in my heart. And for you supposed Star Wars fans who have found some beef with this one, it should have a place in yours too. So do what Vader did, make peace with it already, because only then will you find peace within yourselves.
No try! But I have a bad feeling about this.